Hello listeners and viewers. Welcome to Kaduna State Ministry of Education Radio and TV e-learning program designed for our SS3 and other students staying at home due to the coronavirus pandemic. The present administration, under the able leadership of His Excellency, Malam Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai, is positioned as always to ensure that under his leadership, our students are not left behind in all areas of human endeavors, especially education. Kaduna State is the center of learning. Therefore, we want to ensure that our students excel in their forthcoming examinations and beyond. Students and other learners at home are given this opportunity in order to continue learning, as education is a continuous process. Different subjects will be taught in this program to assist students to perform excellently in the forthcoming Senior School Certificate examination being conducted by NECO and WAEC as soon as schools reopen. Teachers making presentations will always provide their names and phone numbers during each presentation, and they can be contacted for questions, further explanations, and/or clarifications. The following numbers and contacts can also be reached for expression of any concern or observation: 090-865-00545 or 080-383-62072. Our website is www.education.kdsg.gov.ng. Our email education@kdsg.gov.ng or education.kdsg@gmail.com. Our YouTube channel, Ministry of Education, Kaduna State. Our Twitter handle @Kaduna_MOE. Or our Facebook page, Ministry of Education, Kaduna State. Stay safe, stay at home, and learn well. Thank you, happy listening, and happy viewing.
Hello learners, welcome to another segment of e-learning. I am Mrs. Chinyo, and I will take you government. Today's topic is election. The lesson will be discussed under the following headings. A. Definition of election. Functions or purposes of election. C. Types of elections. And D. Free and fair election. We are going to start discussion by looking at the definition of election. What is election? Election can be defined as the act or process of selecting candidates to serve as political rulers and or legislators by citizens of a state or country. I want you to note and bear in mind that other organizations hold election. For example, in our clubs and societies in the school, MSS elect their leaders. FCS also elect their leaders. In our town's meeting, we also elect leaders. But our lesson is focusing on the election conducted to select leaders for either the country or our state, not the other types of elections. So I said it is a process. Any time whereby a country or state wants to elect those that will rule them or represent them in the House of Assemblies, representatives, or Senate, we say that is an election. Functions and purposes of election. Why do we conduct elections? I'm sure we have reasons. We don't just sit down, wake up one day and say we want to conduct election. There must be reasons for which we want to conduct such elections. Here on the board, and for those of you listening by radio, pay attention to the purposes for which we conduct election in our states or in our country at large. Number one purpose, we conduct elections in order to change political leaders. Whenever there is need for us to remove a crop of leaders and replace with new ones, that can only be through election. Secondly, the purpose of election is to select the best out of many candidates. It is normal during electioneering period that politicians in their numbers come out showing interest for one political position or the other. And there is no way all those leaders can get the political position they so desire. The only way is for them to contest in an election, after which, out of the many that showed interest, we select the best out of them. Thirdly, to elect representatives of the people or for the people. Election serves to give us a chance or opportunity to select from among ourselves or from among our politicians those that will represent us in government, either in the Senate, House of Reps, or in the various state houses of assembly, or even at the local government level. Election enables us to select those that will represent us. Number 4, to ensure that those elected remain accountable to the electorates. How so? When a politician knows that he got his position as a result of election, he is careful to be accountable to the people that elected him, knowing fully that without their electing him, he will not be where he is. So if he fails to account for his action or tenure in office to the electorate, they will wait for point number 1. When another chance comes, they will change him as a leader. So if he wants to continue serving his people, then election ensures that such politicians remain accountable or answerable to the people who elected them. Number 5 function of election is to promote majority rule. That is, elected rulers are there because of the consent of the majority of the citizens. In a democratic setting, leader cannot assume power except if he got elected by majority of the people. Now, when that happens, it is assumed that it is the majority of the citizens that are ruling the country because they selected those that are in power. The next point, to confer or vest legitimacy on those to rule or govern the country. That is another purpose of election. When elections are conducted and candidates win the election, we say that they have the support of the majority. They have been conferred with legitimacy to rule the country. Number 6, it is aimed at stimulating political parties to present their most capable candidates for the general election. What we mean here is, as a result of election, political parties that vie for positions during election are careful to pick the best from their party and present him to contest with the other political party if they want their party to win. Failure to present the best means their party will not win that election. So it stimulates political parties to present their most qualified or capable candidate to contest with other candidates from the other political parties. Point number 8. Election enables citizens decide the policy to be implemented in the country. That is, citizens study the manifestos of the various political parties and cast their votes for the political parties or party whose manifestos they accept better or best. Now, during electioneering campaign, all the political parties that are vying for election have their manifestos, which they try to sell to the citizens during their campaigns. Now, it is assumed that the political party whose manifesto suits the citizen or is best accepted or acceptable to the citizens. Now the citizens tilt towards that political party during election to vote. And by so doing, we say that the citizens decide which policy will be implemented in the country by the ruling party, because they knew the manifestos and knew that when this political party comes to power, this and that is what the party will do, and we accept it. Therefore, they will vote that party into power. Last but not the least, elections are carried out because it is used to measure the most acceptable candidate by the citizens. Now, during election, assume we have 10 political parties, and each of those 10 political parties presented candidates standing in for gubernatorial election or contesting for the position of the governor. At the end, only one candidate will emerge as the governor. When that happens, we say that that candidate was the most acceptable by the citizens. The next issue to be discussed is types of election. Types of election. We have different types of elections, but we have streamlined our discussion today to just a few. They include the following. 1. Direct election. What do we mean by direct election? It is a practice whereby electorates physically and personally vote candidates of their choice at the polling units during election. What this point is saying is this: when an election is to be held, which we will call direct election, every citizen that qualifies for election and goes out for the election has to physically be present at the polling units on the election day to cast his or her votes physically. That is what we simply mean by direct election. The candidate goes out to vote for the person of his choice. Number 2 is what we call indirect election. Indirect election. This is a situation or practice whereby elected parliamentarians elect the executive arm from within them. Let me draw your attention to this practice. Indirect election mostly is practiced in countries that practice parliamentary system of government. In this situation, citizens go out to elect their lawmakers, either their senators, depending on the name they are called in the countries, or representatives. Now it is after the citizens elect their representatives, who are their lawmakers. The lawmakers will now set a date, and from among themselves, they will now elect those that will serve in the executive arm of government. Britain and India are a classic example of countries that practice indirect election. We even had that history in Nigeria between 1960. That was a system used in Nigeria. If you remember, Nigeria at that time practiced parliamentary system of government also. Number 3, by-election. By-election. What does this mean? It is a practice whereby an election is conducted after the general election in order to fill in a vacuum created by an elected candidate. Why the vacuum? Either due to death, resignation, or disqualification. Assuming that after the 2019 general election, one of the House of Reps members, something happened. Maybe he died, or he resigned, or he was disqualified for one reason or the other. Now his seat in the House of Reps cannot be left empty. Therefore, a later date will be fixed for election to fill in his position. When that happens is what we call by-election. Number 4, primary election, which is popularly known as primaries. Now, primaries is conducted at political party level or within. It is an internal affair of political parties with the aim of electing the candidates that will contest against other political parties in the general election. Every political party that you know have many candidates that are interested in contesting in the country's general election. But not all of them will have that opportunity. So what the political party does within its party is that they bring all those that are interested in vying for position. Then they contest from among themselves. One of them will be elected, he will emerge winner. Then it is that candidate that will present to contest against the other politicians from other political parties. This is it about types of election. Today, we are also going to look at free and fair election. What do we mean by free and fair election? It is a common phrase in politics and during electioneering campaign. What do we mean? What is the meaning? Free and fair election can be defined as a means or ways of conducting election. How? According to the principles of democracy. It is obtained if the electorates elect leaders of their choice without intimidation. I used to tell my students in the class that under exam condition, if you cannot remember the long grammar attached to the definition of free and fair election, just define it as election without cheating. When there is election without cheating, it is when election happens without the voters being intimidated, harassed, attacked, and the rest. That is the simple definition of free and fair election. When you do that, you get your full marks. What are the conditions necessary for free and fair election? What must happen for we to adjudge the process as free and fair? 1, the country must be divided into small political units, which we call constituencies, so that each unit will have a free chance to have representative in the politics of that country without undue disadvantage. Number 2, there must be preparation and use of voters' register during election. If your name is not in the voters' register, then you are not given the chance to elect your choice leaders. 3, use of secret balloting during election. Voters must be given the chance to select leaders of their choice in secret. Number 4, there should be no intimidation of voters before and at the polling units. Voters should be free to go freely to the polling units and at the polling unit choose their leaders as they wish, as they want. Last but not the least, number 5, impartiality of electoral officers. Those in charge for the conduct of that election should not show favoritism to any political party. Before I step aside, I will give you the following assignments to keep you busy. Number 1, define election. 2, state 5 functions of election. 3, explain any 2 types of election. 4, state 5 conditions necessary for free and fair election. I take the assignment once again. Number 1, define election. 2, state 5 functions of election. 3, explain any 2 types of election. 4, state 5 conditions necessary for free and fair election. After the assignments, I want you to submit it to this number 0805 7 0 6 0 2 9. I take the number once again. 0 8 0 5 8 7 0 6 0 2 9. My email address is julianachinyo@gmail.com. I still remain yours, Juliana Chinyo. Stay safe. Coronavirus is real. See you in the next class. Thank you.